This revision is looking at scientific theories about the origins of the world and humanity. Scientific knowledge is based on the development of theories. These theories are then tested through experiments and observations, and basically they're trying to prove or disprove that theory. Now, scientists have developed theories about the world, and the most notable theory here is the Big Bang Theory. And this is the idea that a huge explosion has caused everything that we know, the galaxy, our solar system, our planet, us, everything. Now, once this theory was produced, obviously they then had to see if they could kind of back it up, find the facts to prove it. And they've made some observations. One of those observations is that the universe is still expanding. So a little bit like, you drop a pebble in a pond and the ripples keep spreading out to the edges. Well, scientists have observed that the universe is expanding, it's getting bigger. Now, if you reverse that, it has to then go back to one single point, which is obviously backing up the idea of a big bang. From one point an explosion created everything. Also, scientists have discovered cosmic background radiation, which provides evidence of remnants of a huge explosion in time from a very hot beginning. Science has also given theories about the origins of mankind, and the most notable here is the theory of evolution. Charles Darwin was the scientist who came up with this theory, and he basically spent a large part of his life travelling around the world, observing species in their natural habitats in different environments, in different ecosystems, and actually wrote a book on it called On the Origin of Species. From his studies, he concluded that species change and adapt to the environment they live in. So species are able to cope, adapt and survive, whereas weaker species don't and die out. Natural selection is the name he gave to the process by which the strongest animals and plants survive and the weakest die out. Now, a couple of good examples that we can use here to kind of back this up. Take giraffes, for example. It's believed that giraffes at one point didn't have long necks, and they've actually adapted to the environment they lived in, and each generation has inherited the characteristics of a slightly longer neck so they can actually eat the leaves from the tall trees. Another good example of a species adapting to the environment they live in would be polar bears. At one point, these would have been brown bears in sort of North America, Canada, who have wandered further north looking for food, obviously come across the Arctic conditions. Polar bears now are completely adapted to Arctic environments. They have 3 times the thickness of fat in their bodies than normal bears to deal with the extreme temperatures. Their fur is turned white to help with camouflage so they can hunt and they can survive. Their paws are twice as big as normal bears to help obviously walk across ice and snow. So a good example of a species that has completely adapted to a very harsh environment they now live in. Darwin caused quite a lot of controversy with these theories, especially when he then turned his theories to humans. And from his studies, again, he kind of concluded that, well, humans are actually part of this evolutionary change as well. And he wrote in his book that humans have developed from an animal, saying we have close links to apes. Now, he was ridiculed by the Christian church for these beliefs because, of course, Christians have a very strong view of human origins, obviously from the Bible, that God made Adam and Eve unique, separate from the animals. And Darwin's here saying, well, no, we've actually developed from animals, meaning that we are not unique in that sense. One scientist who actually was a Christian, who actually came back and argued against what Darwin was saying, was Philip Gross. And he actually argued that the fossils that have been found that would suggest, species around before humans, like the dinosaurs, were actually put there by God to test our faith, to test the faith of Christians. So an interesting way to look at the kind of fossil discoveries which would kind of indicate that there were species around before humans, which again goes against the Christian belief that God created humans in his first 7 days of creation.